How do you deal with an overly friendly neighbor who asks too many questions about your life when you happen to be outdoors at the same time? I live in an extremely religious community, Mormons, so this happens all the time. I used to try to be Yui and give hints, but the best technique I have found is this one. I'm kind of a private person, and then I compliment them on something I have noticed. Nice grass or hey, thanks for checking on me. I know it comes from a good place. I'm that neighbor. I'm an older lady who lives alone, and I'm just trying to make a connection with my neighbors. If something happens to me or my pets, I'd like someone nearby to at least notice they haven't seen me in a while or worry about my pets. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the swag. Second edit. Come on over neighbors. I'm making brownies. You ever been in a storm, Wally? Wow, the response is some good. Soon are clearly trying to be funny, but some are disturbing. Look, it is important to be on good, if not friendly terms with your neighbors. You will have them in your life for a long time, whether you like it or not. The responses that recommend short UE answers, where you follow up with questions of your own, are the best. You may very well discover a new friend, or you may both realize you don't click and you will naturally not take it any further, but you will be left with a neighbor that is at least on good terms. Remember, they may be the person to notice you being robbed when you are not home, or notice the smoke from a fire first, or be accepting of the noise from a large party you decide to throw. There could be a lot of reasons they are talkative, and not all of them are them just being nosy, or they could be genuinely interested, lonely, had a bad neighbor in that house previously, etc., to name a few. Edit. Wow, this really blew up. Thank you for all the awards. Gold and silver. That's never happened to me. I've tried to read all the comments, and clearly the whole concept of community, neighbor, friendship, loneliness, etc. has struck a nerve. I hope that op finds something useful and relevant to his situation. If you're not very open to chat, just keep things polite yet quick. It's nice to have a good relationship with your neighbors. If they do delve into personal questions, just say that's a bit personal. I'd rather not talk about that. Most important thing is to be polite. Don't be an or act standoffish when it's not necessary. Honestly, just use some common sense. Don't be a redditor, is all I'm saying. Try having a neighbor who tracks when you leave and arrive back home, talks to your boss about your work schedule, and when you're actually supposed to be at home. Asking my boss if I had COVID when she noticed I hadn't left the house in a couple days. The list goes on and on. I hate nosy neighbors. Is your life really that miserable you have to worry about strangers? I told her off, and we are currently looking to move. Some people are just bad neighbors. I've learned this lesson a very hard way. I've known my neighbor, 56 meters, for around 15 years, and considered him a family friend. He watched me grow up, and our families have even taken a vacation together. He was always nosy and asked personal questions, but I shrugged it off as that's just how he is. That was until my girlfriend, 20F, moved in with us. He slowly became more and more friendly with her, asking her where she works, about her family, and slowly changing his personality to hers. I suspected something was going on. Keep in mind he is married with a daughter, still in high school. One day I came home from work and my girlfriend was sharing a beer and talk with him in his garage. Nothing out of the normal. He frequently invited us over for beers and whatnot, so I thought nothing of it. A few days later my girlfriend comes to me in tears, and not of sadness, but of frightened tears. After what seemed like forever, she told me that the night she had a beer with him, he told her horrible things, that he wanted to ck her brains out and steal her and tie her up. He's thought about breaking into our home and taking advantage of her. He as well broke into her car and was leaving her love notes. My once friendly neighbor went crazy. I confronted him about the situation and he admitted to it and told me I was no good and did not deserve her. And keep in mind he told me this in his backyard with his wife and daughter home. Fast forward a month later. In this time he hasn't showed his face since. My girlfriend gets off work early, and as she is walking into our house he was hiding in the bushes. Asking if she was afraid of him, she ran inside and we had to call the police. And for the next 2 months he sat on his property line next to ours with a small foldable chair and just watched our house. So the best way to deal with our overly nosy neighbor is to cut the convo short and walk away. I made friends with my neighbor at the beginning, If lockdown now, whenever I go out front of my house, he comes out every single time. Even when we just open our front door, he comes out and just sits. One time, Amazon dropped a package off. When I was working on the side of the house, he opened his window, proceeded to yell to me that Amazon had delivered a package. I don't go out of the front door anymore. Unless going to my car, I just hang out around back, and even take my dogs on walks leaving through and arriving through the backyard. I've always just casually said, "Hey, that's kind of personal," when said with a smile. It usually works. Edit/notes. Thanks for the award. Some people have pointed out that the kind of isn't necessary, and in a sense, they're right. It's just how my speech usually sounds, and I find that the kind of is easier to say as a non-confrontational person. Cough. My partner and I just moved into a house and got cornered by a neighbor for 30 minutes. My Midwest sense of guilt needs to clarify a few things. We were on our way to do stuff. This neighbor started talking and didn't stop for 30 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. Half an hour non-stop talking at us, not with us. We tried every little polite out we could take, plenty of whelps and damn that's crazies, and even a few well we should really get goings. I even started leading the conversation into the middle of the street, hoping a passing car would separate us. None. If it worked, we only finally made it out of there because it got dark. I've decided the next time this happens, I'm just going to tell her politely but firmly that I need to take a dump and then just walk away. Edit. The replies to this are hilarious. I tried every single one of these things. I have no explanation why it took so long to finally end the convo. Sell your house and try again. Look, honestly, I have very poor social awareness and no filter at all, so they would probably hear about how my chronic illnesses have resulted in constipation so bad that I have to be on laxatives for 6 months to restart my bowels, and the consequences that all of this has on my life. I fully accept that I'm the reason that I have very few friends. Be as polite as possible. Seriously, it's better than having a bad one who you are constantly at odds with. I don't mind overly friendly neighbors as much. Giving a short UE answer to certain questions you're not comfortable with is probably best. The problem I have currently with a new neighbor is that they are not respectful of others or property. They have over 7 adults and 5 minors living in the house. Cars parked in front of my home. RV's old scrap car in their driveway. City violation. They let their kids run all around my driveway, play with my doorbell, throw rotten fruit in my backyard. One of the adult men likes to leave his trash in front of my driveway, constantly yells at night, power washes all of his cars and RVs close to my driveway all day. Several neighbors I have spoken to have had nothing but negative things to say about them, but no one does anything about it. I try to actively ignore people like this as they are renting the home, and I have no idea how long for, but my patience is running thin. I think maybe they are not so much intrusive, just trying to spark a conversation. I would stop what you're doing, give them 5 minutes of undivided attention. You don't have to reveal too much, just get to know each other, then wrap it up with an "alright, good to see you. I gotta get back to this." I bought 86 acres in the middle of nowhere. My closest neighbor is 1.5 miles away. So far, it seems to be working. Just gotta get the house built. Lol. First, I must say, many of the answers on here made my day. Funny people today. Anyways, I'm generally a magnet for S, so I have oodles of experience with this. The simplest way to deal with the nosy person is turn a lot of the questions back at them. "Oh, thanks for asking, but I really need to know where you bought that fern. It's so neat looking. Oh, my job is boring. Tell me what you do for a living." Most of these busy IES are looking for info to tell others. They are so bored in their lives they have to know everyone else's business. Either turn the question back at them, or practice giving UE answers that say nothing. "Oh, we've been married a while. Ick now. Time flies." If you can't or don't want to talk to them, make sure you have very visible headphones on, even if you're not actually listening to anything. Don't remove them when they speak to you. Either just lift one each time they speak, or leave them on and yell really uncomfortably loud when responding. Occasionally misunderstand what they said because you couldn't hear them. If they push it, say you're listening to classes to learn a foreign language for work. The boss put you on a deadline to learn it. Pick an obscure language. If all that doesn't work, those extra special nosy people, start feeding them really strange information that they'll sound weird repeating to the neighbors. Of course, the best remedy is to just talk to them for a minute, then excuse yourself and tell them you really have to get back to whatever you're doing. Then step away. But it's sometimes fun to mess with the annoying ones. Grey Rock, keep your answers short, simple, and UE examples. What did you do this weekend? EHH, not much. The conversation will eventually fizzle out, they'll get the hint. HMM. First thought, always leave the house wearing headphones. Even if you're not actually listening to music, every time you encounter said neighbor, give them a friendly wave and continue to carry on, lol. I moved. It was to the point she had binoculars out watching us. I have anxiety and can't do anything if someone watches me. I love woodwork and working on cars. I could do neither without her sitting on her porch and watching me. My yard wasn't big enough to build a garage, so I had to work outside. She would catch you outside and talk for 30 minutes, plus side. We made a load of cash off the house sale. Moving to a house with 2 garages and only one neighbor, a couple dread yards away. Some of the responses you've gotten don't seem to understand that there are just people like this that don't respect personal boundaries and can't pick up on subtle hints like one-word answers. The way I deal with these people is by humoring them for a bit, using some of the tactics already mentioned, giving short uninterested answers. If they don't catch the hints I'm dropping, I'll pretend to have something else to do. Go inside. The premise of this question is why the phrase good fences make good neighbors exists. Try to make your boundaries clear and, barring that, build a tall fence so they can't see/bother you. The only time I've had that happen was in my first apartment. Older lady next door always wanted to ask personal questions about me since I was so young. When she asked overly personal questions, I'd usually just smile and jokingly say something like, "You'll have to buy me dinner and a drink if you want to know me that well." Wear headphones when you go outside or pretend to be on the phone. Have some friends come over on the same date, same time once a month. Make them dress all in matching clothing, head to toe or one color. When they arrive, come out to greet them. Make some odd hand signals and hit your chest a few times. While screeching, they hand you a box wrapped in paper with strange symbols written all over it. You hand them something obscure, like a rubber chicken or a VHS copy of Showgirls. Once the exchange is over, your friends leave and drive around the block, only to return to park in front of your neighbor's house, where they stare at his front door and write notes in tiny notebooks before leaving. I have a neighbor who I legitimately hide from because I hate talking to her. She'll keep you outside for like half an hour, I'll duck behind the dumpster and wait for her door to close. I have a dog who is scared of PPL, so if I have her outside it's easy to be like, "OHH, sorry, my dog is dragging me away." I know I'm but I hate people. I have zero interest in their lives. My favorite neighbors are ones who never ever talk to me. Ask them about their life the same way they do. Edit. Okay, look, what I meant to say is bother them as much as they do to you. So then they'll see that and then stop. Or they either spend so much time talking about themselves that you don't even have to share anything personal. End every sentence with the words "as was foretold in the prophecy." I don't know if that'll help with your neighbor specifically. It's more a sort of general life tip. So how's your life? Oh, hi Mark. After acknowledging their existence and making brief chit-chat, anyway, it was good talking to you. I'll catch you later. Turn around and go do your own thing. No explanation or opportunity for him to ask follow-up questions. It's awkward and you come off as weird and standoffish, but it works. For most people this should be enough. Obviously, depending on if you're a woman and the dude is one of those dudes who refuses to take the hint because he knows he's got you trapped there. Offense usually works in say, "Oh, why do you ask?" in a smiling, friendly, kinda curious way. Or if you don't care about being G-friendly, there is "Why would you ask me that?" Or the evasive, "Hey, I dunno what's new with you." Possibly in a teasing manner. G, you ask all the questions. Huh. Ask to borrow money. Stupid Flanders. Headphones and sunglasses on. I have an Aussie neighbor. I set boundaries, then I use this technique. He finally understood that I didn't want to be bothered. Now he doesn't bother me unless absolutely necessary.